You're listening to BK Presents on Rainier Avenue Radio.
Hello, everyone. My name is BK International Talent Scout. I'm bringing a brand new show to you called BK Presents. 30 minutes, nonstop, your favorite in gospel music. Studio sessions, going deep into interviews with your favorite artists, producers, and their engineers. You and your music. Concert previews and concert reviews. Get it all on bkpresents.com. Welcome to BK Presents show on Rainier Avenue Radio. Today, we're going to be talking to a camera person, a camera professional. His name is Paris Bentley with 2 E's. How you doing, Paris?
Good. How are you doing, brother?
Oh, man, It's such a pleasure to meet you. I met you the last time with the street preacher. Mm-hmm. And then you start talking to me about your camera system. I said, wouldn't it be awesome to have this person talk about what he does? So we have 28 minutes, so we're going to hop into it. Let's talk about photo opportunities. Let's talk about cameras, and I'm going to give you the floor. Like this first camera, when I seen that, I was like, does he do the NFL? I mean, it's such an interesting look. And how did you start using cameras such as this?
I would say getting to this, it was a process. So this is why I actually brought these other cameras, because these are kind of the ones that started it all for me.
Wow. Okay.
You know, this was kind of just the camera that the family had, and I would just run around and, like, if I got my hands on it, I would take pictures of with just like people around the house with it, like my mom, my dad, my sister. And then eventually my dad had got me my own camera. This is a Olympus FE20. It's only got 8 megapixels. You know, this thing is like, you know, iPhones have like 16 megapixels. So this is, you know, this is very outdated, but this is like a 2000s little camera. You know, I started just, you know, creating stuff with this. And then eventually I started taking pictures on my phone. Around high schools, around like maybe about 2017. I was just taking pictures on my phone, just kind of just getting into it, kind of just messing with it. And then I feel like that's kind of what led me to get into the stuff like this.
Okay.
Yeah.
We were talking about editing.
Mm-hmm.
And you were talking about, so once you shoot something, can you talk to the people kind of like part of your process of trying to edit things that you shoot in order for them to look good on Instagram or Facebook?
Yeah. So basically the way it starts is, say for example, I shot let's just say I did a photo shoot for you.
Okay.
I'm gonna let's say for example, we did for probably like 2 hours. We took about like 200 pictures.
Okay.
So I'm gonna, you know, plug it into my computer. I'm going to go into Lightroom. That's just the program I use. And what I will do is I will sort through all the pictures. You know, I look through them one by one, because sometimes you want to take multiples of each pose. You know, sometimes we close our eyes, or sometimes we look away, or, you know, certain things happen. So I'm gonna sort through all those pictures, and the same way that there are filters on like on phones and things like that, there are these things called presets on Lightroom. Wow. And there's thousands of presets. You can make your own presets on Lightroom. You can literally just create them on your own.
Wow.
You can manipulate like the blacks, the whites, the reds, the orange, all the color, and basically every color you can manipulate and do something with it.
Wow.
Which is really cool. And basically what I'll do is I'll find a preset that looks good with not only like the subject but the background and everything. I'll find one that looks good, and then I'll go from there. And that's kind of like the preset is like my base. Right. Then I'll start tweaking little things like the colors, and then I'll just basically just go on to the next picture and sort through those. So out of those 200, might end up using like just maybe like a fraction of those. But then the sorting part sometimes is like the longest, but it's not you get used to it. You get used to it, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Now, how has the Lord inspired you to use your gift in taking pictures for people? Do you ever feel inspiration, or God says, hey, you know, work with this person or put some extra time? How does he inspire you to be a photojournalist?
I would say really the main part is that he sends people to me. That's one thing.
Wow.
I would say he sends people to me. I believe, a lot of these opportunities are from the Lord. And the same way the Lord sends opportunities, the devil will try to send opportunities, but it's not a good opportunity. And it's one of those things where, of course, you got to say no to certain things.
Right.
We got to keep our body as a temple. We got to stay holy. We got to remain holy.
Right.
And not be, not do certain things that glorify the kingdom of darkness. So I would say, really, God just sends people to me, and sometimes he places little ideas in my head. Like when I have homies that go to the studio and they make gospel music, I'll just go and sometimes I'll just take pictures, like,
oh wow,
I literally just come with my camera. I just ask if I can come, and I come and just start taking pictures,
right?
Just because sometimes I just like to practice,
right?
But then end up shooting a video and editing that, and they'll post that online, and then people will see it. And really what it was showing me even today, because I was thinking of like words to say for this interview. One thing it was showing me is that this right here is a gift given by the Lord. But not only that, but these are tools to wage war against the kingdom of darkness.
Wow.
This right here, this is powerful. This gift that God gave me is not for me. I could use it for me because I've been given free will, but God's like, Paris, I've given this to you for my glory, and being creative and things like that. This is literally ministering to people. And God was kind of really just showing me that, like when I was recording videos with Jordan and taking pictures and stuff like that, I'm like thinking like, okay, this is contributing to the kingdom. Or if I'm at my church and I'm taking pictures of little events, it's like people are going to see these things. And that might make them be like, "Ooh, I need to go to church," So it's just like, okay, what I'm doing is I see it as a little thing, but it's really a big thing in the spirit,
right?
Yeah,
like Jordan's interview was like so inspiring. So, like, have you ever actually went out with him? You went out there?
Yeah, we've gone out a few
front
times.
Line.
Yeah, we've been out in the field, man, out in the mud. Yeah, we get out there. We get out there consistently.
Wow.
Yeah.
Because there's a picture I think on your Facebook where you're holding a sign.
Oh yeah, that day. Yeah, we were at the Mariner Stadium
during
going against the Blue Jays.
What was that like to being able to minister to like thousands and thousands of people? And I seen you holding that sign, and it just struck me like, wow.
Oh man, it was one of those things where I've never done that before, so it felt uncomfortable at first. Well, maybe a little uncomfortable, but what I'm doing is the right thing. And a lot of people, it's one of those things when it comes to like street preaching, when it comes to things like that, it's a lot of things that a lot of people don't want to hear and they're not expecting to hear. Right. So you're not going to get the same reaction because you're in a different setting compared to a church. Oh, you think about it, if you're a pastor and you come before a congregation and you're speaking a message, you're coming to around a bunch of people who are probably hungry and expected to hear about the word of God, the kingdom of God. But these people, you're out in the world, you're out in the thick of it. There's all different walks of life of people that are coming to, like, for example, to go see that Mariners game when we were out there, when I was holding a sign. And it might feel like you're just talking to a wall, or you're holding up a sign and just people are just ignoring it because you're just looking at people's facial expression. They might look at it for a second, but just ignore it. But we can't really see what's going on in the spirit unless God shows it to us.
Right.
And that's why things like street preaching, like what Jordan does, and holding the sign, it requires a huge like amount of faith. Not saying that any other walk or any other calling doesn't require a big amount of faith, but I feel like it requires faith to where like you really look at people and you can just really truly believe like, okay, somebody's gonna receive this, because it's basically, imagine like talking to a wall and basically like believing that somebody's going to believe it.
Right.
That's kind of like how it is. You don't know who's gonna receive it, because these people, you're probably never going to see them ever again.
Right.
You just have to really believe that, okay, that somebody's going to hear a word, or somebody's going to see something on the sign, and it's going to change them.
Wow.
Yeah. So it requires a lot of faith.
You were, before we did the interview today, you were talking about shooting a music video. What is that like to be the person that's shooting the music video, capturing everything on film? What are you doing and what are you experiencing in that process?
That's a very good question. I'm glad you asked that.
Yeah.
So I would say when it comes to shooting a video, I'll just walk you through the process.
Okay.
So say for example, I hit up, like, I had a homie named Dante. Shout out to Dante when he was
Dante.
when he was rapping and making Christian music.
Right.
One time we went down to Tacoma, and I asked him, I was like, hey, you got a song in mind? And I asked him, like, hey, send it over to me. So he'll send that song over to me. I'll listen to it. I may get a feel for it, and I may think like, okay, what's going to like, what setting should I pick, and excuse me, but like, where should we go, and certain things like that. Sometimes I might, like, when I listen to a song, I might be like, okay, like, what am I getting from this? What type of ideas am I getting from that? And then, okay, we go down to Tacoma and then pick like an area. Then we just start to, look around the area, see anything that's interesting. And just being a creative person, there really ain't no rules to it. There's no rules to creativity. You know, it's like when you got a blank piece of paper, you can write whatever you want on there.
Right.
That's that's the cool thing. You can.
Oh, wow.
It's the same way with a camera. You got all these settings that you can manipulate however way you want to make what you want.
Right.
So, I would say the next thing with music videos is just shooting a ton of angles. Like we might shoot a full part of the song right there, and then a full part of the song over here, and then a full part of the song in like a bunch of different places, because you want to have a bunch of different camera angles to work with. So,
right.
Yeah, I would say that's mainly like a simple part of like what it is.
And then when it comes down to the editing, or like, so are you writing down your edits, or you're keeping a lot of stuff in your head?
So when it comes to the editing process, I basically, let's say I just shot some on this camera. I would take everything off this camera, put it on the computer, and then the next thing I would do, once I got all the clips on there, I would have to get the song and put it onto, like, the program I'm using is Premiere Pro.
Oh,
so
Premiere Pro.
I put the song on there, and then I'd have to go and line up all the clips with each other.
Okay.
And then I would basically group them all together, just like nesting them together. And there's a way where you can make them all look like you ever seen like behind the scenes at like a basketball game with all the camera angles, and you got like you got like 20 different angles on like one screen.
Right.
It's kind of like that. So you can do that in Premiere Pro, where you have a bunch of different angles. So now when I'm going through the song and all the clips are lined up, all the, like, let's say I got 5 different angles that are lined up. Now I can see, I'm like, okay, I like this part more than that part. So I'll click that part and put that right there, and it's already lined up.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So it's still a long process for me, just because I like to take my time, but it's definitely makes it easier.
So like, to do like a 3-minute music video, is that like one day of work or 4 hours of work to kind of?
That's a good question. So it really depends on it. I say it depends on the person. It also depends on how the person wants it.
Okay.
And it also depends on the speed of your workflow. So for example, if somebody like, oh, I just want a bunch of clips just put together, not a bunch of no special effects, just switch it off every little bit. Like, you can do a 3-minute video in like an hour and a half or 2 hours.
Wow.
Or like with me, if someone wants to do stuff with a lot of effects, it might take a while. It could be a whole day. It could be like 2 days. Especially the way I work, I like to take my time and make sure everything is good. Yeah, it might take me like a day or two, probably 2 days.
Now, there's probably some young people that are going to watch this, or some parents that are going to let their kids watch this, and they're inspired by what you do. What would you say to a young person that wanted to get into being a photojournalist? How should they start? How should they be inspired?
I would say that's a very good question. I'm just thinking, like, you might see all these things. Anybody at home that's watching, you might see all these big things. You don't have to start out with this. You can literally you could start out with your phone.
Wow.
Literally, you can start off with your phone just like this, you know. Like I was telling you before, like I done shot music videos off this. Wow. It may not look the best, but just work with what you have. And I say you don't have to start with this because there's skills. For example, you can give a professional this camera and they'll know what to do. But then you could give somebody that don't know what to do this camera, they won't know what to do with it.
Right.
Because there's skills that are there. You know, there's practice that's there. And I would say practice with what you have at home. If you got a phone, use your phone. You might have an old camera. You can use one of these too. And basically just work with what you got.
Right.
You know, work with what you have.
Oh,
and
wow.
Just work with everything you have and really just continue to just build those skills.
Oh, man.
You know, yeah, I would say just build those skills. You know, build those skills, practice. Like they say, practice makes perfect.
Yes.
You know, I would say do that. And of course, you know, be led by the Lord.
Right.
I would say that's the number one thing. Be led by the Lord. Don't be led by the flesh. Be led by the Spirit.
Now, saying being led by the Lord, what's your personal testimony in the Lord becoming your personal Savior? You grew up in church.
Mm-hmm.
So what's your personal testimony in having the Lord come into your heart?
It's a very good question. I'll try to keep it quick. So, but not too quick to where I'm missing out on details. So I grew up in a middle-class family, good house, you know, no cussing, no drinking, no smoking, no listening to bad music, no, none of that. And I was in church, but I never really had a relationship with God. Like I had never really had an encounter with the Lord. Even though when I was 7 years old, I chose to be baptized.
Right.
And I was actually it's funny. I actually got baptized in my grandmother's bathtub.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Yeah. Because they my grandma, my mom asked me and my sister, like, you guys want to get baptized? I said yes. And I was like, yeah, let me go get baptized. So then that happened. But as I started to get older, I started just like, especially like around like 7th, 8th grade, I started to drift off and just, you know, I just seen it as a bunch of rules, you know, seeing it as a bunch of religion.
Right.
And, you know, high school was when it started to get really bad. I was starting to, especially like my junior year, you know, I started skipping school. I started, you know, putting drugs in my system, smoking weed and hanging around people that's, you know, gang banging and shooting and doing all literally like a bunch of stuff, you know, literally having life or death encounters before I turned 20. And eventually it was 2018. I remember I was 19 years old. Ever since like 2018 at first hit, when it was January 2018, I felt like life just like God was just calling me from then. And just I just started seeing a lot of things. And I'm like, okay, this isn't a coincidence, you know. And my grandma, the one that baptized me, she was picking me up from one of my jobs I was working at. It was within walking distance. It was on like a 20-minute walk, but she insisted on picking me up. And I would usually buy her food. I'm like, you know, hey, you picking me up, you know, yeah, you only drove a few minutes to get me, but let me get you some food. And then she would just minister to me. And for some reason, it was just like, it was making sense. I mean, I didn't want to hear it at first. She had the door locked. I couldn't go nowhere.
You were captivated.
Yeah,
you were captive.
Yeah, I was held captive, man. Yeah, free me. But it was one of those things where like God knew I needed that. And here's the thing, it's his mercy and his grace. You know, it's like Jude chapter 1, verse 22, have mercy on those who doubt. You know, I doubted, but God never gave up. He had mercy on me. And that mercy was him still coming after me. Right. And you know, like it says in Luke 5:32, you know, Jesus did not come to call the righteous, but sinners to repentance. So basically that was what he did with me. He pulled me out of that. And it was really a process. You know, ever since from then, it's been a process from 2018 till now.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a good story. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
Let's get back into photojournalism.
Yeah.
So you like on Facebook, you're on Instagram. So do people like call you up and say, hey, I want to work with you? Or is it usually by phone, or like people are seeing your work everywhere?
I would say some people see my work and some people see my work and they're like, yeah, we like to work with you. Some people might stumble across my page or sometimes family might share it. But really I just try to I need to do better with staying consistent right now, because there's some times where I'll post a lot and then sometimes I'll just be working on my craft.
Right.
I'll take little breaks where it's like, okay, I've been posting a while, but I got a lot of pictures stored up. Or I might have times where it's like I'm just working on these things.
Right.
Because we want to focus on working on this more than posting, I would say.
Right.
Because that's where the bread is made.
Right.
Where your skills, the skills pay the bills. But then also you got to be able to post. So it's like you got to be able to balance it out. So yeah, sometimes I'll take time to like dip away. I won't really post anything on my photography media, on my photography pages, and I'll just be, because I'm just focused on this. But yeah, sometimes some people might reach out to me. Sometimes I'll just be posting, or sometimes I might run into someone and like at like a family get together, I'll hand them a business card, things like that.
Right. Right. Yeah. I got one of your cards. I was like, man,
Thank you, sir.
Just like I wanted to do this interviews because it's kind of different to like actually interview a photojournalist.
Yeah.
And to have someone that's spirit filled, that uses their photojournalism as a ministry is kind of unique, right? So that's why I wanted to like talk to you about Daniel. But how many minutes we got left? Okay, we got 5 minutes.
That was quick.
Yeah, we got about 5 minutes. So let's get there. Who would you like to give a shout out to?
Oh man, I knew this was coming. I knew
Well,
this was coming. Yeah.
There's people out there like that are gonna make a real connection with you.
I would say Jesus Christ. That ain't nobody else deserves that spot, I believe, but him.
Right.
I think it's Proverbs chapter 16, verse 9 says there's a way that a man has, but like we make our own plans, but the Lord directs our steps.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, yes, I'm a photojournalist, but I'm a man of Christ first.
Oh, wow.
So sometimes God can call me away from all this, say, put this all away and seek my face. Because this is not going to get me into heaven. My faith is.
Wow.
And it's like, if God tells me to quit this right now, I have to be obedient. The God is bigger than this. He created this. The creation is not better than the creator.
Right.
So that's why I would say, shout out to Jesus Christ.
So sometimes you take a break from this.
There was a time where I felt like I had to. I literally just deactivated all my social media, and I just was seeking the Lord because I needed to get right in my spirit.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
And then you had to like reactivate.
Yeah, I would say I had to just. It's not that I didn't delete everything. It was just like I took it down so that no one can see it. And then when I got back on, everything was back up like it never left.
Oh, yeah. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
That's an amazing story. Have you ever went to any schools and did any speeches? You ever taught any classes?
No.
Not yet.
No. Yeah, I don't. It seems like I know a lot, but I don't know that much yet. There's so much to learn. There's like so much to learn. Yeah, it's a lot to learn, but hey, if it's God's will one day.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I think I read on we'll kind of go through your car. So you shot photos of automobiles and stuff like that too?
Yeah, I've done cars probably like 2-3 times. I've done a few things. Yeah, I've done sports. I've done basketball, photography.
Oh, let's talk sports because Rainier Avenue Radio, they do a lot of sports. What is it like to shoot sports or take photos at sport games?
It's very fun. I've only done pickup basketball games, but I've done at least about like close to 10. Right. And it's I've gotten plenty of hours doing basketball photography, but I would say it's really fun. It's very fast paced though.
Wow.
Very fast paced. So you're gonna be
because you guys still make the pictures clear.
Yeah, you try to catch everything.
Right.
Yeah. So I might be taking like 1,500, 1,700 pictures.
What?
And yeah, one session. Yeah.
1,500.
Yeah, close to that sometimes. Yeah.
That is.
Yeah, that's a lot. Mm-hmm.
And then you break it down.
You gotta sort through them too. Yeah. Once you get used to it, it gets quick. It might take me like a little over an hour to sort through that much.
Wow.
Yeah, it's not too bad.
So you just like this.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah.
Let's talk to some people that are, what I feel in my spirit, they're a little down, little depressed. You know, they're watching this show and they're being inspired. Speak to those people and how they can be inspired and encouraged.
I would say that sorrow lasts for a season. You know, sorrow lasts for a season. We may not know how long the season may be, but it's for a season.
Right.
You know, I would say that, and joy comes from the Lord. You know, joy and strength comes from the Lord always. You know, seek him and talk with him about anything you may be going through. If you need encouragement, bring it to him in prayer. You know, if you need a revelation from him, bring it to him in prayer. If your broken heart needs to be fixed, bring it to him in prayer.
Right.
Faith. I would say, trouble doesn't last always. I know that's easier said than done.
Right.
Because I don't know what everybody out there in the world may be going through, but yeah, that's what I'd say.
Okay, this is BK International Talent Scout. I'm on the air with Paris Bentley. We just completed our interview. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you, Seattle, for checking out the show with BK Presents on Rainier Avenue Radio. It's been our pleasure. But listen, we want to connect with you. Maybe you have some takeaways from the show that you would like to let us know about. You can do that in two ways. You can go on Twitter and follow us at BK Presents, or email us bkpresents@gmail.com. Once again, that's bkpresents@gmail.com. Until next time, we look forward to hearing from you again on BK Presents. This is Marquise Franklin, the producer of BK Presents, and that is our time for today.